Good day, friends, and welcome to the Experiencing More Growth Moment. Uh, I want to talk about relationship goals today, right? So you hear relationship goals tossed around, that term tossed around a lot in social media today, and it's funny how you read various posts and you see things that are out there, and what's really interesting is the thought process of a lot of people when it comes to relationships and their understanding of relationships and what they think relationships are about. Now, obviously, when we talk about relationships, you have to obviously you got to consider that it's not just romantic relationships, but relationships as a whole. Now, you hear more about romantic or intimate relationships in those social media streams or posts that I referred to earlier. But when you think about it, relationships, it's more than just romantic. The term relationship, um, if you look at it from the totality of understanding healthy relationships, you can apply various foundational relationship truths to any kind of relationship. Obviously, the intimate or romantic relationship takes on a different angle, but there are various truths, there are principles that you can learn and develop and learn to apply them across the spectrum as it relates to relationships and be successful. For example, there's the work relationship, your relationship with your coworkers or your boss. There's family relationships with your relatives. There are relationships with your friends. There are relationships, with your children, and then of course there are romantic, intimate relationships. And it's interesting because there are some different thoughts as it relates to relationships. Well, I always like to look at from the prism or the through the Word of God, because God is He's the author of life. He is the author of relationships, and He is our perfect example. When you talk about loving unconditionally, when you talk about sacrificial love, you talk about laying your life down, you talk about giving your son. He gave his son ultimately for us to bring us back into relationship with him. These are foundational principles that, if we're not careful, we will lose sight of as it relates to relationships. And of course, that can go across the entire spectrum when it comes to relationships. And so, I have a principle that I like to use and apply in my relationships. That's relationships with my wife, my children, my coworkers, and it's rooted in the word. They call it the golden rule, right? Being able to treat other people as you would have them treat you. And I feel that that's lost on today's culture because, it's all about me. It's all about treating me a certain way. I have to have this, I have to have that. And that's the wrong way to approach relationships and understanding the purpose of relationship and understanding how to be successful. So when it comes down to relationships, where do you get your principles? Where do you learn, or where did you learn how to be in a relationship? That's the question you should ask yourself. Did you learn from your childhood, seeing your parents? Maybe you come from a broken home. I know I did. Maybe you were in a home where there was lots of love, and maybe you've learned and you are applying that. But you have to check the source. You have to check the root, the foundation of where you learned how to be in a successful relationship. And that will give you an idea of where you are today, where you want to be if you are not in intimate or romantic relationship, but also how successful you are in managing your relationships, because you're in relationships. Even if you're not married, if you're not in a romantic relationship, you are in some kind of relationship. And you have to ask yourself, how are you doing? I always also second as a second principle, I always stress the importance of having a healthy relationship with yourself, understanding who you are. And you can't have a healthy relationship with someone else if you are not a healthy person yourself. So you have to spend time working on yourself. You have to heal from bruises and wounds of the past in order to be successful in any relationship. Have you ever had a relationship with a person who was just nasty or mean, who always snapped, or they were always angry? Um, they've gone through various things in their life or various relationship hurts, and they tend to bring that baggage with them into every relationship. Well, that obviously takes happens a lot, and what needs to happen there is that that person needs healing. That person needs to be freed from the wounds of the past in order for them to be successful in maintaining relationships. So, this is kind of one of those topics that can go on and on and on. But I wanted to give you a few things to think about. Okay, so number one, where do you get your definition, or at least your uh, your experience in relationships? Where did it come from? Uh, Number two, do you have a healthy relationship with yourself? Are you a healthy enough person to be in in a relationship? And when I mean healthy, do you display? Do you have the ability, the capability to understand what relationships are? The capacity to maintain a successful relationship. Do you really understand the purpose of relationships? The purpose of a romantic relationship? And I think what has to happen is we have to have clarity on those things in those areas before we can answer the question about are we ready to be in a relationship or have we have successful relationships. And so this is an ongoing conversation, and I welcome feedback. I believe, you know, people are really searching for answers. People are looking for love, and they want to be in successful, whole, safe relationships, but they don't know how, or they don't know how to recognize if and when they are in a successful relationship, a healthy relationship. So we have work to do. And I could talk a little bit further. I could talk all day about it, talk about how from the standpoint of from a spiritual standpoint to the natural standpoint. But think about it in those terms. We're going to continue to talk about this, talk about it, because the goal is for you to learn how to be a healthy person, healthy, have a healthy relationship with yourself, have a healthy relationship with God. That is the priority. When you have a healthy relationship with God, with yourself, you can learn to begin to understand what a healthy relationship looks like, and then we could talk about how to develop and grow and get to know someone, which I think is the ultimate goal for a lot of people who may be single, and then of course having successful relationships with family and friends. Well, that was a little bit longer of a growth moment today, but hey, listen, it's important enough. We want to talk about it. We want to bring these things to you to help you to grow as a person. And relationships are a part of growing as a person. All right, that's it. That's all for today. But we look forward to talking to you on another episode of Experiencing More. This is your growth moment. God bless you. God keep you. This is our prayer.